Please listen carefully.
Hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers McKay.
And we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy, it's a blustery day-worthy podcast. Today is Monday, the 26th of October, 2020. Wow, Monday. Yay. What's new? How'd your weekend go?
It was just dandy. It was good. We installed the new fan in our bedroom, which has got tons of light and it's much quieter. We love that. So I think it's more efficient too. We built our shelf in the garage, and I also got my new rowing machine.
Ooh, fabulous. Did you guys go look at that table, the Craigslist table?
No, we decided not to. My husband's not super keen on redoing our dining area right now, so he was less than enthused to go out of the house to do that.
Wasn't his idea of a Friday night date.
Instead, he helped me build the rowing machine, which is for me.
Well, good. That is fun. I'm glad you have a rowing machine. I look forward to time when I will use exercise equipment again. I mentioned to you, we talked about like getting somebody had a used Peloton up, and I was like, because spin class used to be my jam. And then I realized that a used Peloton would be about as much value in my life as the idea that I would be training for a marathon right now. Yeah. There is simply not time for such shenanigans.
Just one more piece of furniture you have to protect against Brennan.
Exactly. It would be covered in foam,
covered in
pillows. And then she would just move all the pillows and pick up the Peloton and take it down and throw it in the ocean because she is the strongest child ever. Yeah. I had kind of a bummer yesterday. Well, not really a bummer, but just a unexpected. You know, my friends that I do our socially distant walk, and we have started occasionally going to brunch at restaurants that are big and spacious. And there was a restaurant that has actually built little rooms for each table. And so my quarantine team and I made our reservation at this place because they had each room, and we did our long walk and ended up at the location. Everybody was hungry and tired and ready to eat. And Brennan had just fallen asleep, which was perfect because that meant that I would get to have some food. And we got there and they didn't have room for the stroller. And they said, well, you can take her out and put her in a high chair. And there is just no way on this earth that I would take a sleeping baby out and stick her in a high chair. So my friends had brunch and I had to walk back to my car all alone. But I had a chance then to put our ballots in the ballot box. So,
well, I think that's good. That's, I think, a better use of your time, Summers, even though.
Yeah, no, it was just one of those things where, life is permanently changed, right? And the idea that you can just plop a stroller next to your table because there's going to be enough room at the restaurant. Things are going to be different, and I don't know how long they're going to be different for. Certainly in the areas that we live, Ventura County has seen an increase in the reported cases of the coronavirus. And I know globally there's definitely an increase happening. So everyone's just kind of hunkering down and wearing their masks, and things will be different for a long time. We're going to just have to find solutions in our home, and you and your rowing machine are a solution that makes me smile.
My home gym build out.
Exactly. Well, you know what is actually kind of interesting? Apparently, there was like a run on weights. So we know there was a run on toilet paper and, Clorox wipes. But apparently it's very, very, very difficult right now to purchase at-home weights.
Yeah, we had, because we just got a set of those. But even on Craigslist, they went from, $50 to hundreds of dollars for used sets of weights. Everyone is realizing that we got to stay home. And if we want to actually move our bodies.
Yeah. Everyone has put down like the quarantinos, the quarantinis. We're all like stopping drinking and trying out our at-home weights. All right. Well, it was another great weekend at the Optimist Daily. We had some fantastic stories over the weekend, including Kristy's Optimist view on reducing waste and building a circular economy around electric vehicles. Kristy, well done. What were some of the highlights of the view for those folks who are not yet Optimist Daily emissaries?
I mean, it's just taking a look at the fact that we are in the process of a electric revolution, whether we want to admit it or not. Fossil fuels really are at the end of their lives in terms of being the dominant player of electricity and power, how we power our homes and our cars and everything. While we're at the very beginning edge of this in terms of like electric vehicles, it is coming. And they're estimating that by 2040, probably 60% of all new vehicles sold in the US, and that includes fleet vehicles and trucks and garbage trucks and things like that, will be powered by batteries. And the issue there is, are we going to just replace one extractive technology, which is extracting oil from the ground, with another one, which is extracting all the minerals that you need to create those batteries? And that's the question. The thing that's really amazing about the minerals that you use to create these batteries, the lithium and the graphite and the cobalt and all that, they can be very detrimental when you are mining them. They're coming up with new technologies to lower the carbon impact on the front end. But the thing about it is that those minerals are endlessly recyclable. We just have to build those systems so that instead of just tossing your lithium ion batteries, and that includes things in your cell phones and your power tools and your computers and laptops, all of those batteries, if they go into landfills, they can be very toxic. But there are ways to responsibly recycle them. And so that was what the article was really about, was about what are we going to do with all these batteries? They last 10 years maybe on the outside in terms of being able to keep their charge as they are. And then there's second life. There's ways of repurposing them. If they drop 20, 30%, they may not be that great for your car, but you can use them for stationary power. You can take the cells out and you can power something smaller like a golf cart. And so there's different people who are doing those kinds of things. And then there's the actual true harvesting of the used batteries for the minerals and chemicals that are in them to create new ones. It can create a whole closed loop system there that can be very efficient. And then it drops the carbon footprint of those batteries to near zero. So that's really exciting, and that's happening now. And it's not just about the environmental impacts, which are essential and important, but it's also about the economics and having a strategic and sustainable supply for these finite materials.
And like everything that we write about on the Optimist Daily, solutions aren't siloed. You don't get to just say, oh, this is the panacea. You have to have it in concert with other solutions. And that kind of leads to the headlines we want to talk about today, which actually speaks to the way a network of solutions can work together. Kristy, do you want to kick it off with your headline? Or you know what? Let me kick it off with mine.
Kick it off with yours because it has to do with transportation. Actually.
Exactly. I was trying to create a bridge between your story and mine. And here we have done it. So my story says a giant wildlife bridge will help LA's mountain lions cross over the 101. One of the biggest ecological problems of freeway systems is that they create what are known as sort of microhabitats, where native animals' habitats are cut off. They're divided into or, separated. And this is a case with the Los Angeles 101 freeway, which is a freeway I drive all the time. That is my freeway, guys. That's how I get to Los Angeles and to Santa Barbara, back when I used to leave my house. But anyway, one issue is that the animals are running a huge risk. And I see this all the time. And you hear about this on the news all the time about animals who are getting trapped or getting hit as they try to dash across the freeway. And then a secondary issue is that animals on either side of the freeway become a genetically isolated unit because their breeding grounds and their diversity is cut in half. And so that it increases the likelihood of endangerment. So what is happening is that the National Wildlife Federation is working with several partner organizations to build a massive wildlife crossing over the freeway. And it will look like a natural grassy bridge rising over the freeway. And it does have an estimated cost of $87 million, funded entirely by private money. And if fundraising continues on schedule, groundbreaking will happen in 2021, which, by the way, is 2 months and 4 days away. So 2021 is almost here. Hallelujah. But I love this story. As we all know, I am a big fan of all creatures, and mountain lions are just this beautiful part of what we have here in Southern California, Southern and Central California. And I am just very delighted that they are going to be building a bridge to help these habitats.
I think this is great. And this story also made me happy. And it's interesting to think about how our transportation networks, not only do the fossil fuels and the emissions from cars, is it affecting the air, but just the highways themselves and the arteries. Yeah. It does cut habitats in half. It cuts communities in half. And that's something to think about. All these highways which are being built are natural pathways that are being built. This is similar to the stories we've written about recently about rope bridges in the canopies that go over roads for the gibbons in China and other places like that. It's amazing how close we are all living to wildlife in our backyards. Just in California, in the mountains of California, there's mountain lions, there's bears, there's foxes, there's coyote, there's badgers, there's wolverines. There's all this stuff is living right in our backyards, and they mostly are isolated from the rest of us, and they're part of our environment, and we should be able to support them by creating wildlife crossings.
Well, and one additional addendum to the story is that if anyone's wondering where this wildlife bridge will be, it's actually going to be in the Agora Hills area, sort of bridging Los Angeles and Ventura counties. If you are wondering where it is, or if you'll be able to go see this beautiful green grassy habitat as you drive your way down to Los Angeles, that is where you'll spot it. Speaking of habitats, grassy things, and
supporting the environment.
Supporting the environment. Exactly. Kristy, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, the headline that I want to talk about is how switching schools to renewables can improve the quality of education. And I thought this was well-timed for me this morning since my son's school district is right now in a massive power shutdown. So all of their teachers who are still teaching 100% remote, they don't have access to the Wi-Fi network from the school.
We actually had a planned power outage in preparation for the winds and the fire reduction over the weekend. So my power was actually out all of Saturday night.
So anyways, it's an interesting opportunity to really look at how adding renewables and maybe some battery storage backup can actually help make schools themselves more resilient in the face of these power shutoffs. Yeah. But also, it turns out that it can save them tons of money. And that's what this article is looking at. It spotlights a school district in Arkansas, the Batesville School District, that was in 2017 facing massive budget shortfalls. And they had very, very high energy bills. And that was part of why they were struggling so much. After they conducted an audit, they realized they could save up to $2.4 million over the next 20 years by installing 1,400 solar panels and also switching out all their lighting to very energy efficient lights. So they decided to go ahead with that plan. They added that solar to their schools. And after this transition, they went from having a $250,000 annual deficit to $1.8 million in annual surplus. And as a result, they were able to increase their teachers' salaries by $2,000 to $3,000. So this is a tremendous testament. It's not about the environmentalism, but it's about the economics of adding solar and having that be your main energy source. And I think that schools around the country are really moving in this direction. And that's also happening here in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara School District is now committed to adding solar to their campuses. We're working on that here in Goleta, where I live as well, which is part of the Santa Barbara School District. And not only will it save money in the end, it'll also open the door for creating community-based microgrids, which can become nodes of resiliency for our communities in times of these power outages and the instability of the high voltage transmission grids. So that's something that I'm very involved with here in Santa Barbara and Goleta. So I found this article just a great one. And if all of the public schools in the U.S. switched to solar, the education sector alone could help reduce planetary emissions, at least in the United States, by the equivalent of about shutting down 18 coal plants.
Kristy,
which is
it reasonable to assume or to suggest that all schools commit to solar? And the reason that I ask this is that my understanding is that there are certain places in the world where solar makes sense and certain places where it doesn't. So perhaps schools in Seattle, true. Is that
well, true? Actually, as a matter of fact, as the efficiencies of the panels go up, and they've been going higher, higher, higher every year in the last decade or so. You can actually get a significant amount of solar resources even on cloudy days, even in areas where you don't have a lot of solar resources compared to, I mean, California, it's a no-brainer, right? Arizona, no-brainer, Nevada, a lot of these western states or even southern states. But even in places like northern states, it might make sense to some extent.
And would the cost of implementation offset the amount that they were able to? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that is definitely a good question, but maybe there's other on-site power generation solutions that can come and help move schools into this direction where they have more control and more resiliency and cost savings in the long term. This is like an infrastructure investment that will last 20 years to pay it down, but it'll save money over that time, and then it'll be there in perpetuity as well. That was my solution for today that I wanted to highlight. And there's some other great ones today, though. Let's just touch on them super quickly.
Absolutely. Prisons often reject letters to inmates. There is an app that stops that from happening. There is an article about 7 clever ways to give old egg cartons new life. And I love the idea of it being a bird seeder or compost feeder, which I still haven't gotten my compost bin, but it's going to happen. Grocery delivery service Instacart will now accept food stamps.
There's an article about 5 essentials that we have to keep in mind when we're building a remote team, as more and more offices around the country are moving to work from home models. How do we bring people together and have them be effective teams, even when we're not working in the same office?
Want to reduce your carbon footprint? This app makes it easy for you. Dad raises more than 20,000 pounds for charity by drawing quirky portraits of pets. This chef uses food waste to feed and empower her community. Soothe election anxiety with these 8 grounding questions. All of those are fantastic stories on today's Optimist Daily. Thank you all for listening to today's Optimist Daily update. We promise to continue to share positive, solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in this changing world and ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to cover the current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offer you the information needed most to chart new paths for all of us.
Please consider becoming an emissary on theoptimistdaily.com, and for just $5 a month, you can support reader-funded independent journalism and be a part of the solution-changing consciousness that addresses our world's biggest challenges with that problem-solving mindset that works so much better than feeling like we don't have any power in the world, right? Let's keep the Optimist Daily free for all who need it, supported by those who can. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.